Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Bava Metzia daf Mem Vav. We are going to begin on the bottom of Mem Hey Amid Beis, second line from the bottom. So we were learning whether or not, when it comes to the din of chalipin, whether or not a person is allowed to do chalipin, which is typically with a kinyan suda, with a handkerchief. Are you able to use matbea, a coin? So on this, we're asked a question. A person is literally standing in a silo in a place where granary, ve'en biyado mois, and he doesn't have money. So oimro chavero, he could say hari paris lo nusinucha b'matana. So he can say that this money I'm giving it to you as a gift. V'chayzer, as we continue Mem Vav Amud Aleph, v'chayz ve'oimer hari hein mechulolin al mois sheishli b'bayis. And then he could turn around and say that it should be changed, the fruits of Meiser Sheni, onto the money which is in my house. Now, why is he able to do this? Says Rashi, Hari Paris shel Meiser Sheni shelcha. Your Meiser Sheni should be mechul al mois sheishli b'bayis. So your Meiser Sheni, your paros, should go onto my money in my house. So then he could now take the fruits, because the fruits went to chulin, because now it went on to the money in his house, the kedusha. Now, what is the diak over here? The only reason why you can do it is, again, you have money at home, but you don't have it here. So he said, if you did have, so the other person could simply just do mashicha, uparik redeem it. So it's better in this situation. It's better, says Rashi Shein Niris Arama Kol Kach Li Patim and Hachemish. The reason why he's trying to do this is to, when you redeem, you typically have to add an extra fifth. However, by doing this form of trickery, it's a way of pottering yourself from having to pay the extra fifth upon redeeming it. Now, if taka chalipin can be done with money, so niknule mois lehechagav studer v'lifrik. So he said, oh, why don't you just do mashicha? What do you mean? So instead, you can just push it, say that you could do the mashicha with the money. So obviously, you can do a kinyan chalipin with the money. So it must be that you cannot do a kinyan chalipin with money. So Gemara says no, delesli sudar. It's only talking about where you had no ability to do a kinyan. So meniknivu nili agav karka. So maybe you can do an agav karka, kinyan agav. So on this, the lesli karka, you don't have land. But oimid begarin katani. It says you're in the silence, apparently it's in your area of your granary. The begarin shein shul, it's not yours. The yichvul tana ashminan gavra artiloi is the tana trying to peg it as an individual who literally is like naked. The lesli v'klum, he has nothing. Right? The fact that he didn't give us this option must be, in fact, maskana, that you cannot do chalipin with money. The truth is, even though this is a question about Papa, he also retract. He also says it cannot be done. So he had 12,000 coins in this locale. So he acquired it to Rav through the threshold of his house, says Rashi. Miftan beso alma mid israchle lechnuni agav karka. Why did he use a kinyan agav, which is you acquire the land, and then agav the land, you're calling it also the metaltalin, assuming you need sibur, when Kedushin talks about it. But let's say it's on the karka. So that's a kinyan agav. The question is, why do you have to go out of your way to do a kinyan agav? Well, you should just do a kinyan chalipin. It must be because you can't do a kinyan chalipin with money. Kiyasa, when he went, Kiyasa nafik l'ape tovech, he went to accompany him all the way into this location. The fact that he was able to do this kinyan for him, and he did not choose a kinyan chalipin because you cannot do chalipin with money. Instead, he chose a kinyan agav. So you have numerous great sages that all say this does not work. Okay, Esvei. So he asked the question, Rabbi Abba Ula, he asked the question, let's say you have donkey drivers and other workers, they did their job, and they want to be able to get paid. So they go and demand payment in the marketplace. It says Rashi, Mois, Sacharim, Umizinoisehem. They basically, again, they want to be compensated for their money or their food. They want to be compensated for their labor. So they turn to a person who is involved in money changing. He says Tainli, and which he understood that they'll be compensated. So he said Tainli b'diner mois, give me money now, basically. And for to be able to have a parnasa. Vani alocha yafa dinner utraces. Then I'll pay you back, Shulchani, and I'll pay you back with, it's just not available now, but I have money in my house, and I'll be able to give you a dinner as well as a traces. Rashi says traces makatana. It's a small coin. So is he able to do this? Basically getting paid and then saying, the money that's in my house will be yours. So it depends. If the guy Taka has money in his house, that money which he spoke about, then mutter, he's allowed to do so. Says Rashi, so he's basically saying that we're doing a chalipin, the money in my house to the money that you're giving me. That we're doing chalipin, you get the money in my house, and you're giving me this money. So obviously we see that kin chalipin can be done with money, which is going to be the question. And because, again, of the trouble, so he's going to give him a small little bit more. Well, how is that not ribis? Because if you're giving him a little bit more, so isn't that ribis? You're taking less than you're giving him more. The truth is, it's not like a loan where you hold on to the money, but rather, since he has money already in his house, it's like he's being paid immediately for it anyway. So it's not like ribis, and where you borrow money and then sometime later you pay it back. So therefore, it works like right away. However, if he doesn't have money in his house, so it's osir, because then it's like a loan. It says Rashi, the kivan de ein lo b'dinner bebeso ein kan chalipin. There's no chalipin over here because there's no kin chalipin. El kashar mecher. It's like any other transaction, and therefore, that's the reason why it's osir. Now, if you want to tell me that you didn't do chalipin, so then it's considered like a loan. The osir should be an isser of ribis. It says Rashi, "Afil yeshloi nami in kanuin l'b'makam shehem sham the inzu el halva." It's like a loan. So ishtik, because it seems very clear, must be the reason why you're able to do this is because it was a din chalipin. Therefore, we see that matbeh is nasa chalipin. Normally, dilma idi b'praitatais shanu the lake alahu tiva v'idi perahavi. Maybe we're talking about a situation, says Rashi, Moishel Nechoshes. We're talking about coins which are of silver. Shem Adayin Blutsura. It has no form of any currency. Ke'ein Atsimon Shel Kesef. And therefore, maybe the reason why you're allowed to do this is because it's not a matbeya to a matbeya. They're not coins to coins, but they're both considered to be a pri. They're both considered to be merchandise because they're both a tzimoin. They're comparable to coins without a form. If it doesn't have a tsura, then we say that that's not considered to be a coin. That's not considered to be currency. And therefore, that's the reason why you could do it, because it's not considered to be a matbeya. So, because of that, that's the reason why you can do chalipin in this case, because it's not a matbeya. Even though it looks like a matbeya, but since it's of a surah, therefore it doesn't count as a coin. In Tekanami Yafid dinner, it says it's worth a dinner. Teresi. Lokatani dinner Yafid Teresi. It doesn't say a dinner yafa, since it's not real coin. It's just saying it's yafa dinner. It's worth a dinner, but it's not dinner yafa, that it's like considered to be as like a dinner itself, because it's not a coin. Shema mina. Rav Asher oilam b'damim u'b'proitetais. Really, we're talking about money in copper. Kivan d'isli, not kivan d'isli. Since he has money, nasa kerma halveni ad shiava b'ni o ad shimsa maftech, which we had this lesson before. Says Rashi, miu taimula mishum dindikna b'chalipin. There's really, it's nothing to do with chalipin, because really matbeis ein nasa chalipin. Shafil hisna imo b'taris damim. Even if you made a condition of payment with money, ein kan ribis da'agar natar lay. This is not considered to be a form of agar natar, which you normally cannot pay extra to delay payment even by a business transaction. So why is this allowed? Because, as Rashi says, quotes the mission. The reason why is because it's basically saying that it's like it's key, like it's here already. I just have to get my key, or I need my kid to go get it. So it's mamish. It's not even a situation of a form of agarnata, of really pushing off, because there really isn't a pushing off, because he's basically saying that this person should be compensated right away. Okay, Tashma kol nasa damim ba'acher, says a mission kedushin. Kivan shezachazen eschayze b'chalipin. That's an interesting language, because it literally sounds like you could mamish use damim, money, for chalipin. So kol nasa damim ba'acher my nihu matbeya. It's a coin. So according to the simple reading, which is a little bit of a challenging mission of the language, on Daf Chav Ches, in the first parak in Kedushin, it sounds like you could use a coin for chalipin. So Rabbi Yehuda Hachim, actually, you have to read it differently. Hachikam, and this is what it means, as we continue to Mem Bava Medbeis. Kol hanishum damim b'acher, anything which needs to be evaluated in order to be able to figure out how much it's worth, which basically means anything except for money. Money doesn't need to be evaluated. Rashi says, kol hamataltalin. It refers to any type of metaltalin. So in other words, it's not talking about money. It's telling you anything other than money, something which is evaluated to be able to know how much it is worth, which is unlike money itself. Hachanam mistabra, that this is the case. Midiktani seifa ketzad. So what was the example that the Mishnah in Kedushin gives? Hichav shor b'paro, shor b'chamor, shmamina. Why does it give those examples? Obviously, because it's not talking about money. It's talking about different forms of metalton, excluding money, because chalipin cannot be done with money. So same lashon as the Gemara over there. So amai desalka daitin mikara matbeya. Why would we even have the havamina of the Mishnah to have even thought it was a coin? My ketzad. How could you then read the ketzad explaining it? The explanation again is not money. So obviously the ratio of the Mishnah in Kedushin is not talking about money. So what's the havami to have thought so upon having looked upon the seifa of the Mishnah explaining the ratio? It's clearly not talking about matbeya. So what's the chiddush? Why would you say, what's the havamina rather, that you would even think? So hachikamer uperi nami avdi chalipin. It's coming to say that you can also do chalipin on all peiros, on all items, all metaltalin, even if it's not a kli, because you would think, because it says nar, so you would think it's something which is dafka kli, and therefore the chiddush is it could be any peri. Ketzad hichav shor b'paro or chamor b'shor. Now hanicha Rav Sheshes diamer peri avdi chalipin. I can understand this is according to Rav Sheshes, who says Yutaka could do chalipin with all these different things, or Rav Nachman diamer kli in avol peri loy avdi chalipin my ketzad. He says if it's not a kli, like an animal, you can't do chalipin. But how do you understand the Mishnah over there, which literally says chalipin can be done with a shor, a par, a chamar, whatever? So my ketzah, sahachikamer, yesh domim shehin ka chalipin. It just means there's some things which are like chalipin. Says Rashi, Diyesh taris damim shahamois kainos blo mashicha kechalipin shel sudar. That there's some times that certain things are kaina even if mashicha wasn't done, just like chalipin. Yesh damim shehein kichalipin. Ketzad hichlaf demei shor b'para. If you exchange the value of an ox for a cow, or demei chamor b'shor, my time, that's it. So my time, Rav Nachman. Why does Rav Nachman say that you can only use a kli and not peri when it comes to chalipin? So several Rabbi Yochanan, the Yomi devar Torah mois kainos, meikar din. Again, Rashi says the Omer damim ki hagav nekanu v'anan tanan mois enu kainos. So how can he say that damim, that money acquires? How do you understand that? I thought we already said that you can only do metaltalin. You can only kind of metaltalin with mashicha, not with money. Now the truth is because the bar Torah mois kanis. From Ikar din, Yitaka could use money. As soon as money is exchanged, that's considered king even mashicha wasn't done. But nonetheless, the Chachamim instituted that even though money was given, and you're holding on to the animal or whatever it is that you're going to give, or the wheat that you're going to give to this person because he just paid you money, we say, until Mashiach is done on that item, on that wheat, for example, which means it's been pulled out of my reshus and it's now in the buyer's domain, only then is it kaina. Why? Why Mashiach? We're typically concerned that what may end up happening if the grain is still in the hands of the moicher, the seller of this wheat. And then the seller already gets his money, and that's the kinyan, so he's not going to care if whatever happens to it afterwards. It may get destroyed or burnt, so we don't want to do that. It's going to cause problems in this transaction. So therefore we say, you know what? Instead, even though you already accepted money, you still have to give him the wheat, and until Mashiach is done, he can be chayzer, and obviously he can get his money back. Now, milsta shchicha gaz v'rabbanon. The chachamim are geyser, as we know, typically if it's something which is a typical potential issue. However, our Mishnah, which is talking about with animals, so they're not geyser, and therefore, because of that, you are able to do this kinyan of damim midiraisa with these animals. So says Rashi, Kivandet the kanta the rabbanon ba'almahu. Since the requirement of Mashiach is only the Rabbanan, Midaraisa can just mois kainais. So b'mecher, if we're dealing with a sale, the shliach of the Rabbanan tekanta. So they're going to make a tekana when it comes to sales. B'mecher, the lo shliach, however, if it's a sale which is not common, can go in high, shu shaman demei metaltalin, that you're evaluating the metaltalin, with other metaltalin, so in other words, if you're dealing with, normally you buy an animal with money, so that's a milsa shchicha, right? Or you buy wheat with money, so that's something which is common. So there we require mashicha. However, over here, of paying the value of an ox with another animal, it's almost like a bartering. That's not something which is as common, and therefore money we say is fine, and we do not require Mashiach. Okay. Whereas Mashiach the Mashiach is actually din deraisa. So Hanichi several Rav Sheshes. If you hold, it says like Rav Sheshes that peri abdi chalipin, so mentarts like Rav Sheshes. Eli several Rav Nachman. If you hold like Rav Nachman that you cannot use peris, you can only use a kli. Kiyamar peri lo abdi chalipin. You can't do it with animals. Umatbeil loikani. And you can't use coins. How does he answer this whole case? If we're not talking about chalipin with money, and you can't do with animals, so al karcha krav sheshes metaretzla. He obviously holds like krav sheshes that you can use paradise all metaltalin for mashicha. Question 12. For chalipin. Question 12. Mois imidaraisa konos. Mashicha imidaraisa kaina. So it's actually a machlokas. Mais midaraisa Rabbi Yochanan kainas reish lachash enu Mashicha midaraisa Rabbi Yochanan enu kaina reish lachash kaina. So it's a machlokas on both both sides. Question TB3, which I think is the same question. So I wrote Zemach Lekes Reish Lakish Rav Yochanan. Im Amar Davar Torah Mois Kainais Az Hakinyan Shel Mashiach Rak Midrabanan. Im Savar Shemashiach Hu Minatayra Az Mais Rak Midrabanan Below Davar Torah. It's actually pretty well written. That was TB3 rather. Okay. Weiter. Tanan. Kol Metalton Kainin Zet Zeh. So we mentioned that Metalton can be kind of one another. Even a wallet with money for a wallet of money. So how does that work? It must be through Chalipin. And again, we're going to ask the same question. Al Karcha Chalipin Karmer, says Rashi, Dibitars Damim Maislu Kanu. We said that you don't midaraisa. There's no kinyan of using money, so it must be a kinyan chalipin. Shema minam mat ben asa chalipin and nikt b'chalipin. So it's a kasha. So Tigrim Rav Hacha bediner anka va'anigra. We're talking about these two different types of coins, says Rashi. Shishteyim mois psulois. Both of them are disqualified currencies. Dehavile kishar metaltalin. So even though they look like coins, but the truth is they're not, because they're no longer functioning as coins. Therefore, it's considered to be like like merchandise, and therefore that's the reason why it's like regular metaltalin. That's the reason why you can use them. So what's the difference between the two? One of them, the malchus said they're invalid. Medina, the whole country. This particular king said this. Means it's not good at all. Medina. The Sang Medina Achriti, perhaps it can be used in different countries. Maybe again, fine, it can't be used in this country, but used in a different country, so therefore maybe it's still a coin. Kamashmon, it's not. The Yashmin and Pasalta Medina Mishum Dole Sagale Lobet Sinavil Bafarhesia. No one uses these coins public or privately. Of a Basalta Malchus the Sagla Basina, some people do still use these coins privately. So therefore, again, it's not really considered to be halakhically as a coin, and therefore, since it's not considered to be halakhically as a coin, therefore the din is that you can do chalipin with it because it's just like regular metaltalin. However, again, we're staying maskana up until this point that in fact, when it comes to real coins, you cannot use them for chalipin. Adkan.